October 12, 2005. A jewelry tycoon's daughter went missing while in Hong Kong. Days later, she turned up at the Hong Kong tax building. But by then, she was gone. How did someone get past all the security, commit a crime in a building full of workers, and leave no trace behind? 3 years later, the case was almost forgotten, until a new murder brought the suspect back into the spotlight. October 24th, 2005, 9 p.m. Tan Shengwang, an HVAC tech, was working on the 33rd floor of the tax building. While repairing a cabinet, he noticed something strange on top. It looked like a person with one end covered in a red plastic bag. At first, Tan thought it was just a heavy person who'd been electrocuted. He quickly called his boss. A few minutes later, 2 colleagues arrived. They climbed up to check it out. At first, they thought it was a lifelike mannequin, but when they poked it with an umbrella, the soft, fleshy feel confirmed it wasn't a doll. It was a body. They called the police right away. When the police arrived and investigated the scene, they found a woman's body on top of the air vent cabinet. Her head was covered with a red plastic bag tied tightly around her neck. Her hands were bound behind her back. The room was warm, and with the air vent turning on and off, the temperature varied by about 10 degrees Celsius. The body had begun to decompose unevenly, and it was so bloated that the face was unrecognizable. It was hard to determine the exact time of death. They also noticed that the victim was wearing a white t-shirt and black pants. She had a pair of pearl earrings and a gold earring in her left ear. On her left wrist was a Rolex watch and a Tiffany bracelet. On one side of the body, there was a pair of Chanel heels. Based on what she was wearing, it seemed like the victim was in a good financial situation. Later, an autopsy revealed that she was around 155 centimeters tall, weighing about 44 kilograms and approximately 40 years old. There were several scratches on her neck and chest and a stab wound on her right chest, which had gone in from behind. The stab was deep, but not enough to be fatal. Her actual cause of death was asphyxiation. They also found traces of sedatives in her system, confirming that she had been drugged before her death. Her clothes were intact, and her body had been cleaned with some kind of cleaning agent, making it impossible to collect any DNA or confirm if she had been assaulted. The crime scene was a 3-meter-high air vent cabinet. It's nearly impossible for one person to lift the body. The police think there might be more than one person involved. The victim was wearing expensive jewelry, so it could have been a robbery that turned deadly. But here's the twist. None of her valuables were taken. These questions are tough to crack, so the police start by digging into her identity. That night, Hong Kong's biggest news outlets were all over the story. When Thai Consul General Mei Bicheng saw the report, she noticed the victim's description matched a woman named Xie Liping, who had gone missing on October 13th. She immediately reached out to the police. The police contacted Xie Liping's family. On October 25th, Xie Liping's sister, Xie Liping, flew in from the US to help with the investigation. Xie Liping confirmed the victim was Xie Liping missing for 2 weeks. The police first confirmed her identity. Xie Liping was 40 and born in Thailand. Her parents were Chinese immigrants from Chaozhou, Guangdong. The Xie family ran a jewelry business in Thailand. Her father started out mining gemstones in Thailand and Myanmar, then later became a major player in the diamond business in Madagascar. Xie Liping and her sister were raised with high expectations and got a great education. She went to school in the US and returned to Bangkok after graduation, where she helped her father with the jewelry business. In 1988, at 23, Xie Liping married A Le, who was 5 years older. They had a great relationship, but after several miscarriages, their marriage began to struggle. In 2003, they divorced on good terms. Even after their divorce, A Le still helped her run her jewelry store in Bangkok. Soon after, Xie Liping's father passed away in a car accident. With her sister in the US, the family business was left to 38-year-old Xie Liping. She took over as the head. From then on, Xie Liping focused on the business, traveling to Singapore and Myanmar often. On one trip, she met her current boyfriend, 28-year-old Mula. Muller is a photographer and a production consultant hiring people in Hong Kong for projects in Thailand. On October 10, 2005, they went to Hong Kong, staying at the King's International Hotel. They planned 5 days there. On the 11th and 12th, they had work commitments. But on the 13th, they visited Disneyland, then returned to Thailand on the 14th. Xie Liping. On October 11th, Xie Liping planned to visit the 9th floor of the tax bureau about opening a store. Her boyfriend, Muller, who was out shooting, asked her to pick up some papers at the 40th floor, film service department, but it turned out to be the Chung Yung Festival that day. When Xie Liping got to the tax bureau, she found out the staff had already gone for the holiday, so she had to come back the next day. On October 12th, Muller was still out on a shoot. Around 2 p.m., Xie Liping called him, saying she was going shopping in Tsim Sha Tsui, then would stop by the tax bureau to get the papers. After that, he couldn't reach her. She didn't return to the hotel that night. After she went missing, her family searched for her but couldn't find her. So they reached out to the Thai consulate in Hong Kong for help and reported it to the police. The police checked her travel records and confirmed she hadn't left Hong Kong. They then sent her info to officers across the city to keep an eye out for her. 01 Mini said, by October 16th, there was still no sign of Xie Liping. Her ex-husband, Ali, came to Hong Kong to help look for her. They found nothing. On October 24th, her body was discovered on top of a sealed cabinet at the Tax Bureau building. At that point, it had already decomposed badly. From what they've seen in similar cases, about 30 to 40% of female victims are killed by their husbands or boyfriends. So once they learned about Xie Liping, the police immediately started to suspect her boyfriend, Muller. He's 10 years younger than her, and their financial situations were very different. That's when the police began to focus their investigation on him. Muller said he was out filming that day and didn't get back to the hotel until late. He didn't have time to commit the crime, and his colleagues can back that up. Surveillance footage from around the Tax Bureau building shows Xie Liping was definitely there that day, so Muller was cleared of suspicion. The hotel footage showed Xie Liping leaving with a black bag. Muller said she packed her passport, credit cards and some cash before leaving, but when her body was found, the bag was gone. The police already suspected Xie Liping was robbed and then killed. After hearing Muller's statement, they immediately checked her credit card activity. On the early morning of October 14th, her card was used at the Tai Wo Hutton Mall and an ATM. The person tried to withdraw 20,000 HKD, but after 3 failed attempts, the card was locked. The person in the footage was covered head to toe, so they couldn't identify them, but it was clear the killer was after money. Once Muller's involvement was ruled out, the police questioned everyone in the building. The police reviewed all nearby surveillance footage and found one maintenance worker, Su Jin Tang. He lived in Tai Po, right near where Xie Liping's credit card was used. They searched his house but found nothing suspicious. With no leads from the police, Xie Liping's sister and boyfriend decided to offer a 700,000 Hong Kong dollar reward for information. But the case still went cold. For the next 3 years, there was no progress. Then in 2008, another woman was murdered, and suddenly, the Xie Liping case took a turn. 21-year-old Chu Xiaoyan and her boyfriend Xu Zhenboth worked at the airport, but in different departments. On the morning of May 15, 2008, Xu Zhen got a text from Chu Xiaoyan saying she was leaving Hong Kong for a few days to visit a friend and asked him to cover for her at work. He tried calling her back, but it went straight to voicemail and her phone was off after that. Every night after work, Chu Xiaoyan took the airport shuttle for about an hour and a half, getting off at the Tai Po fire station. She would walk another 20 minutes to her home. On May 15th, at 3 p.m., Chu Xiaoyan texted her father, saying she'd be back in a few days and not to worry, asking him to deposit money into her account. Her father tried calling back, but her phone was off. He remembered what Xu Zhen said, worried she might have been kidnapped, and rushed to the police. Since she'd been missing less than 24 hours, the police just took a report. On May 17th, Her mother and Xu Zhen checked the bank. They found 400 Hong Kong dollars and 19,600 Hong Kong dollars withdrawn on May 15th, then 20,000 HKD on May 16th, and the remaining 20,000 HKD on May 17th. Chiu Mu believed his daughter was in danger and remembered her ex, Zhu Yongqiang. Zhu lived nearby. They had dated for 4 years, but broke up because of personality clashes. He never got over her, had some emotional issues, even sought therapy. He bought a truck and started a transport business. The Chiu family suspected he might be involved in her disappearance. They brought the new information to the police. Then Xu Zhen got a text from Chiu Xiaoyan's phone saying the ransom was anywhere from $1 to $500,000 US. The case went from missing person to kidnapping. The police told Xu Zhen to pretend he was negotiating. They agreed on a ransom of $100,000. The ransom texts came from Kwun Tong and Yao Ma Te. These areas matched the routes Zhu took with his truck. On May 21st, the police stopped Zhu's truck and brought him in. Zhu denied any involvement and didn't have Chiu Xiaoyan's phone. So Xu Zhen reached out to the kidnappers again. On May 22nd, the kidnappers replied. At the time, Zhu was still being questioned. Was Zhu the kidnapper, or did he have help? The police decided to play along and set up the ransom drop. At 8 p.m. on the 22nd, Xu Zhen placed the ransom on the bus seat. The police kept an eye on the situation and noticed a man texting non-stop. They traced the phone signal and confirmed he was the kidnapper. He took the ransom, but the police waited to ensure Chiu Xiaoyan was safe. They followed him to Tai Wo village in Taipo. Once he entered his apartment, the police broke down the door and arrested 4 people. They found Chiu Xiaoyan's phone on one of them and $100,000 in the bedroom. In under 2 hours of questioning, the man with the phone card confessed to both kidnapping and killing Chiu Xiaoyan. It turned out to be Su Jintang, someone the police had already looked into 3 years ago. Once he admitted it, the case started to make sense. Su dropped out of high school in 10th grade. He started out as a construction worker, then became an appliance repairman. He had gotten into serious gambling debt, over 100,000 yuan, and his family had to help him pay it off. Just months before the crime, he borrowed 70,000 yuan, claiming it was for studying in Taiwan, but he used it all on partying and having fun. 2008 Si Yue, in April 2008, Su Jintang, deep in debt, decided to kidnap and extort someone for money. 10 days before the kidnapping, he had already picked the spot, a quiet park near Taihei Dun Mall. On May 15th, early in the morning, he brought a knife and looked for a woman walking alone. He saw Chiu Xiaoyan with an LV bag, withdrawing cash from an ATM. She headed toward Jingshan village, and Su Jintang followed her. When they reached a quiet spot in the park, he attacked her, choking her with one hand and holding the knife to force her to give him her bank password. Scared and panicked, Chiu Xiaoyan couldn't think straight. Su Jintang withdrew 19,600 Hong Kong dollars from Chiu Xiaoyan's account. He went home and grabbed cleaning supplies. He returned to the scene and dragged her body to a ditch. He cleaned the body thoroughly. He then withdrew 60,000 Hong Kong dollars in 2 transactions. The plan was to pay off his loans, but he wasted the money and didn't pay back a cent. To cover his tracks, he staged a fake kidnapping. He demanded ransom from Chiu's family. The police found her body and belongings. The case was solved. After Su Jintang was arrested, the police started connecting the dots to a case from 3 years ago, the disappearance of Xie Liping. Her bank card had been used at an ATM in Taihei Dun Mall, and at that time, Su Jintang had worked nearby at the tax office building. He had even been questioned by the police back then. Initially, Su Jintang denied any involvement in Xie Liping's death, but the police knew he couldn't have placed her body in a 3-meter-high cabinet alone. They reviewed old footage and saw Su walking with a man named Guo Hui near the building. Guo was a former classmate of Su's, so the police tracked him down for questioning. Guo admitted that Su had asked him for help with a job. He didn't enter the building. The police told him if he didn't tell the truth, he'd be charged with murder. But if he cooperated, he could get a lighter sentence. That was enough to get Guo Hui to confess. He said Su Jintang had brought him to the 33rd floor of the tax building, had him put on work gloves, and led him into a machine room. There, he saw a bunch of newspapers on the floor, and underneath was a woman's body. Su Jintang then pulled out a knife, attacked the body, and told Guo Hui to do the same. Afterward, they moved the body to the top of a cabinet and quickly left the building. Following Guo Hui's statement, the police searched Su Jintang's place, found Xie Liping's phone and the murder weapons, and confirmed the injuries matched. It was clear Su Jintang was the killer. He claimed he only wanted to rob her, not kill her. He tied up Xie Liping, stabbed her, and put a plastic bag over her head. Then he went to get the money. When he returned, she was already dead. The police asked why he didn't take her Rolex. He said it was too hard to sell. He also found out the password she gave him was fake. In the end, he didn't get anything. The case was solved. On March 30th, 2009, he was convicted of murdering Chu Xiaoyan and sentenced to life in prison. In March 2010, he was convicted again for killing Xie Liping and got another life sentence. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below.